News, opinion, passion. This is AM 970. The Answer.
All right, you won't believe this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Frank Morano, but Curtis Sliwa has actually left the pavilion where we are now to go break up a fight that just broke out outside of where we are right now. Two people selling tour tickets to the Empire State Building or to various tour buses got into a vicious fight, and Curtis ran outside to break it up right now. It was actually getting very violent, so there he is doing his civic duty.
AM 970. TheAnswer.com.
Hey, what else can we do now except roll down the window?
826. Oh, I hate Springsteen.
Come on, this is the governor's favorite song, Thunder Road.
I hate it. By the way, I had these two guys out here slugging each other. They're part of these tour guides. Naturally, they're fighting for an ever-shrinking number of tourists to go on these tour buses. And, man, let me tell you, this one guy was swinging and winging at the other guy, and I say, you don't want the cops to come, do you?
Curtis, you're the only New York City radio host I know that would step outside to break up a fight in the middle of his radio show.
Unbelievable. Madonna my. And now my sacrililiac has gone out. Steve Adubato Jr., this is unbelievable. Right here on the corner at 33rd and 7. You got dozens of people standing around watching these guys trade blows in the middle of the street and not doing anything.
Curtis, you are amazing. I mean, you're the only kind of guy who steps up and does that, protects the public while you're a media mogul personality. I mean, you do it all. And you're coming to my favorite hotel, the Wilshire Grand, right here in West Orange, who took care of me and my family during Hurricane Sandy. Ed, the general manager there, is the best. You're only coming to the best place because you're a classy guy and you take care of the public.
And no friend of El Jefe, Chris Christie, your friend, former Governor Dick Cody, going to be joining us tonight.
Why you got to ruin things? Everything was fine until you did that.
Oh, he does great stand-up comedy. And plus, he wants me to see, as a mortician, because, you know, he's got that huge funeral parlor. He wants to see the place. He's got my picture there. He says, soon to become a viewed object here at my funeral parlor. That's great. That's great. But anyway, first off, I want to go to the audio tape. As you know, in advance of today's Senate election that I hope most New Jersey residents realize is taking place.
That's today.
We went searching for Cory Booker's house in Newark in the waning days of the campaign and ran into this SWA sister with an attitude.
The reality is I lived in a very tough neighborhood. I moved into the sector of our city with the most shootings.
It ain't like he's here, because he ain't never here. Cory is never here.
Now, I mean, people have gone hunting for Cory Booker's residence in Newark. They can't find it.
Listen, Curtis, all I know is this. He may be hard to find in the neighborhood, but Cory has a legal residence. He votes there. If he drives, and I'm not sure he does, he has a driver's license from that neighborhood. He has a legal residence. That's all I know.
Yeah, but, you know, like Corzine lived in the Upper East Side of Manhattan when he was U.S. Senator and Governor, like Lautenberg lived on the Upper West Side when he was U.S. Senator. It is my belief that Cory Booker actually resides here in New York City, where he was elected one of the 100 most influential New Yorkers.
He does have a lot of friends in New York, particularly on the Upper West Side. He raises money from the East Side as well. But here's the bottom line, Curtis. Today, in spite of all of the tightening of this race, Steve Lonigan has run an incredibly aggressive campaign. His views may be out there, but his campaign has been very focused and right at the heart of Cory Booker's vulnerability. This should have been a 20, 25, maybe 30-point race. It's going to be closer to a 10-point race. Cory Booker may be hard to find in the neighborhood in Newark, but he's going to win this race. He's going to be a United States Senator, and it's going to be another race a year from now for a full 6-year term. And Cory's going to be the senator, and he'll be easier to find in Washington, D.C.
You couldn't be more hopelessly wrong. In fact, Governor David Patterson senses an amazing upset.
No.
In fact, the other day when you were at the unveiling of the statue for Brendan Byrne.
I heard about this. Did he do what I think he did? Did he do an impression of me?
He did an impression of you because, remember,
I've been hearing about this all over.
I had told Tom Kane Sr. that morning, a Thursday morning, that, in fact, I felt Cory Booker would not show up. Tom Kane Sr. said, no, that's ridiculous. He's the mayor of the city. Everyone's going to be there. We asked you the following day, because you were there.
Yes, I was.
Did you see Cory? And then this was Governor David Patterson's imitation of you last night, your response. And then we asked Steve Adubato Jr. the very next day, who had been at the unveiling and the ceremony.
Before we hear Steve, I'd like to do my impression of Steve.
Oh,
Adubato.
good.
Cory Booker is about 6'3", 6'4". He's got a bald head. That's kind of like Charles Barkley. Now, I've been around New Jersey politics. I know everybody. I was there. I know everybody. Didn't see him.
Put it this way. I was looking around. I know Newark really well. I know that crowd well. Cory Booker is between 6'3" and 6'4". He's got a big, shiny, bald head, kind of like Charles Barkley. I didn't see him.
That's a pretty good imitation.
Oh, you know, I used to work with Governor David Patterson in another place.
Yeah, women's only radio, WOR.
He's not my friend anymore. I thought we were close, Curtis, just like you and I, and now he hurts me like this.
Well, now, think of this. He's going to be at the Wilshire Grand Hotel tonight with me. Dick Cody, the former governor, no friend of LFA, Chris Christie.
No friend of mine either.
Right, he does stand-up comedy.
Yes, I hear.
Then we see Governor Patterson does imitations now the way the Mashiach, Brian Whitman, and Jay Diamond used to do imitations on the radio. So, boy, even if we are not so politically in tune tonight, giving Jersey results because the polls don't close till 8, you can imagine how entertaining this is going to be.
And the only thing that's bothering me is I have a conflict. I have to be on television on Fox 5 tonight while you guys are there, and the thing that's bothering me is I'm not going to be at the Wilshire Grand tonight on the radio live with Curtis, Governor Patterson, and former Governor Cody, because that is going to be the place to be. That is going to be the hottest place for election night returns and analysis, and I'm going to be listening on the way home. And it's going to be a great show.
And then there was last night's debate between Barbara Bono, what is her name again, Steve?
She wishes she was related to Bono because that would be the only thing she would have going in her campaign right now.
Yeah, but then El Jefe Chris Christie was asked the question that totally drives all New Yorkers Meshuggah. And I want your response to this.
And do you have a horror story, like most of us do, about these jug handle turns?
Ron, I love jug handles. I've always loved jug handles, and until the day I die, I'm going to love jug handles.
Jug handles, the big issue in the debate last night.
Curtis, listen. I think that my colleagues at NJTV, the public television station, I mean, it's an hour and a half. You got to remember, after the first hour, there weren't many substantive issues left. So they were going for, what's your favorite song, jug handles, how do you feel about them? And I think that Governor Christie then moved into his late-night routine, and he's particularly comfortable, let's just say, when you move into that shtick. And let's just say that Senator Buono has a hard time when she has to be funny and irreverent and off her script, smashing and bashing Governor Christie for everything that she thinks is wrong in the state. And let's just say this about Senator Buono. If, in fact, she were elected governor, which is a long shot, it would be a boring 4 years because she is not particularly good on her feet. She's not particularly quick. And if she ever had to host a radio show for 4 or 5 hours live, it would be deadly. That's all I'm going to say. And I've interviewed her, and when she's off that script, it's painful.
Now, there was that one question that I thought was important. What was your lowest moment in politics,
Good
or
question.
You learned something? And then I noticed that El Jefe Chris Christie hesitated. But, boy, I don't know where he's losing that weight, Steve. He's very jowly, looks very big to me.
75 pounds.
Not losing it like Rex Ryan was losing it. But anyway, put that aside. And he talked about the time that he was a freeloader and how he wouldn't meet with anyone who was of an opposite view. He was staunch. He was unmovable. And how he realized as a freeloader...
Freeholder, I think you mean.
Yeah, well, you guys in Jersey call them freeloaders because that's what they are. That he understood that he... I said, what a scripted response. Come on, Steve. You had to use your time as a freeholder, a.k.a. freeloader, to suggest you missed the bipartisan? Do you remember him being all that staunch and all that pig-headed when he was a freeloader?
Hold on 1 second. I'm not going to be a total apologist for the governor, but I will say this. Compare his response in which he said, I was elected as a freeholder, and then I lost my seat because I did not listen to the people, and they threw me out. I think when he was asked the question, do you regret something in your public life, that's pretty decent when you say the voters threw me out. Barbara Buono gets asked the question, do you regret anything in your public life? And she says, yeah, I should have stayed on the school board longer because I was in local government and I kind of liked that. Oh, you got to be kidding me. She can't be that introspective where she looks and says, I failed at one thing in public life. She got asked the question, you had 150 votes that you raised taxes, do you regret one? It's the second time in a debate you got asked that question. She can't say she regrets one. She regrets nothing in her public life. She never made one public mistake. I mean, look, the governor's good at avoiding and evading questions, but he's good at it. She's bad at it.
Speaking of the governor, one final question because I am tortured here on the New York side of the Hudson.
Oh, some race you got going there.
A non-race, and Joe Loda last night ran about as far from Rudy Giuliani as his legs could take him. It reminded me of the time, and you remember it well, Steve Adubato Jr., Florio Free in 93.
Yep.
He was how many points up on Christine Todd Whitless at that time? He was on his way to re-election. It was
running away with it.
Fait accompli. Bob Grant, the king of talk radio at that time, right across the street, WABC, where we both worked at the time.
That's right.
Took her by the hand on a bus tour. They stopped at every freaking diner from Camden County to Hudson County.
Including the Rio.
Right, getting agita, from all the BLTs. He brought her from nowhere. She beats Florio unexpectedly.
That's right.
And then when Bob Grant, remember, he's on the ropes because they did that profile in New York Magazine.
I remember.
Called him a racist. And then Christine Todd Whitless comes up and sticks the shiv in his back on his own program. It reminded me of what Joe Loda did last night in that debate by not defending Rudy Giuliani and running away from it as if Rudy Giuliani somehow epitomized the Tea Party, which he doesn't.
Curtis, you and I have a view of loyalty that, let's just say this, it doesn't make us right, but it makes us guys that remember who helped us get to be where we are. And when things turn rough for certain people who helped us get to be where we are, we don't turn our backs. Like I said, it doesn't make us right, but when people like Loda do that and people like Christy Todd Whitman do that, it's particularly painful because it's not something we respect or appreciate, and it is to be disrespected when people do that. You're exactly right.
You're a follower of the Godfather movies.
Oh,
correct?
many, many, many times I try to get my wife to sit down and watch it and analyze it with her, and she says, come on, this isn't real life. I said, honey, trust me, it is.
Imagine, here was Rudy saying, whoever meets with Sharpton, he is the traitor amongst us. Joe Loda is Tessio. Joe Loda is Abe
It was
Vigoda.
Fish. It was Fish. Well, I'm mixing my shows, but it was Fish from the other show.
That's right.
Frank Morano knows. Which show am I talking about, Frank?
Barney Miller.
Barney Miller. It was Fish. Exactly.
Joe Loda is Tessio. Imagine he's met with Sharpton twice after the primary and runs from Rudy Giuliani.
Let me tell you, he's running from Giuliani because he thinks it's expedient in this moment. But Rudy Giuliani did so many good things. He was America's mayor. He doesn't run from him when he's America's mayor in that moment. But when you think it's expedient, you run from him, or you run from Bloomberg. At a certain point in time, it's expedient. But when you want their money, when you want their support, when it's expedient, they're there. You can't respect that.
As they would say on Bloomfield Avenue in the North Ward, ultraditor. Ultraditor.
you're exactly right, 1,000% right. You cannot respect it. There's no credibility there.
News, opinion, passion. This is AM 970. The Answer.